Hello everyone, welcome to CTN. I'm Sanjog Aul, your host, and the topic for conversation is, does integration equal strength in cybersecurity? So we are talking about cybersecurity being utilized in so many different areas. If I were to look at data protection, threat management, identity management, and compliance, these are four disparate areas which people have been trying to tackle for many years. But then how about we try to look at unifying them? And that is the position Microsoft and Tech Mahindra are taking. They're saying that cybersecurity has these four pillars. When unified, could create a much better outcome, which could basically help you boost efficiency, reduce cost, and ramp up against security threats significantly. So what is it that they are looking at banking on to claim this unification is much better than a bolt-on or a separate best-of-breed solution? To discuss this, I have with me Anand Dutta. He's the Senior Vice President and Global Head for Cybersecurity Solutions and Alliances with Tech Mahindra. Hey, Anand, how are you?
Hi, Sanjog. Pleasure to be here. I'm good.
And I also have with me Nitin Sharma, who's the Global Director of Partner Development with Microsoft. Hey, Nitin, how's life?
I'm doing great, Sanjog. Great to be here.
Great to have you again, Nitin. So now what we are going to do is we're going to go through a set of questions, which is my goal is to basically ask you, what is the problem that you are trying to solve as a duo, which is Tech Mahindra and Microsoft when it comes to cybersecurity, which is causing you to look at this landscape rather differently in a unified manner and claiming that these unified solutions will be better? So over to you, Nitin. Let's start with you.
Thank you. So, look, I think this cybersecurity problem is continuing to grow at a very, very alarming rate, right? And it's really getting incredibly difficult to deal with it. I just want to share some numbers to put perspective to this. You know, the largest economy in the world, US, is about $28 trillion, all right? And if you look at the third largest, which is Germany, it's about 4 to 5 trillion. If cybercrime was an economy in itself, it would be almost double the size of Germany at about 8 trillion, which is what we track as the current drag that cybercrime is creating on the global economy. Not only that, it's growing double the rate of the fastest economy out there at 15%. So you're thinking about an economy which is 8 trillion, third largest in the world, growing fastest in the world. That's the scale we are talking about. And it's not just about money. People's lives are impacted. You know, these cyber attacks are getting more and more personal in nature. You know, the private information, healthcare information, education information, personal data is being exposed and put in the public domain by these criminals. It's a really defining challenge of our generation right now, the way these problems are growing. And what is complicating things further is in the post-COVID world, you know, with hybrid work becoming more popular, which is great. You know, it's more flexibility for people. But the complexity in the surface area that these cyber criminals can attack has also increased with that. An average organization we see has 80 plus tools that they've put together from different sources, you know, to address these challenges. But it's a really difficult task to have these insights and data flow across these tools and stitch all of that together. If that's not enough, you know, there are 4 million plus jobs in the cybersecurity space which are unfulfilled right now. AI is complicating things further. So what you're seeing is a whole lot of challenges which are tipping the scales very strongly in favor of the attackers because they only have to be right once. We as defenders have to be right 100% of the time. You know, there are 4,000 password attacks happening every second right now. There are, you know, less than 90 minutes is what it takes a cyber criminal to get access to your entire private data if you respond to a phishing email. So the magnitude of the problem that we're trying to deal with is very, very big. And that's what we were trying to solve for when we started discussing and then building these solutions.
So, Anand, what have you seen the top problems which are worth solving and that led to this partnership with Microsoft?
Yeah, absolutely. I think very rightly put in by Nitin here. What we're seeing is that the organizations are finding it difficult to visualize the threat on which they're sitting today, right? Because if you don't see a threat, you will not be able to solve it. With the advent of security of various solutions across data, application, network, and the new digital era which has come in, and thanks to the kind of digital adoption post COVID, what we have seen is that the average customer has more than 80 products, like what Nitin mentioned, and they are not able to visualize that how are they secure across their entire landscape, their entire infrastructure. Right. And that's where I think they need a visibility as a primary problem, which most of our customer CISOs have called out. And hence they want an answer to that how would they get a proper understanding of their entire infrastructure, security posture at any point of time. And that's one problem. The other point is, in terms of defense in depth, most of the customers are thinking they won't buy product from their different vendors, just put it in their environment and they would be safe. If there is the complexity in terms of various tools, maybe 3 different products for firewalls, 3 different products of endpoint protection, but actually that is creating much further issues in terms of these tools not talking to each other. And hence there are loopholes which are getting created in a custom environment. And again, the threat actors are able to find their way in. And hence the defense in depth is getting failed at these customer places. And that's one of the problems we're trying to solve for those customers. The third problem which we see is around the ease of management also. So the ease of management across 80 tools would be obviously a mammoth task for any operations team or any top team from a customer's perspective. So that is where, again, they want the understanding of how the management would be for these different types of tools across the 12 or 13 different security domains, and how these tools would be managed at one single place where the source of truth of the real issue from where the security vulnerability or a security threat is arising, they're able to pinpoint, right? So I think these are the things which you were trying to solve together as a GSI and a platform of Microsoft.
So, Nitin, as you, of course, shared yourself the many problems that you see, which is leading you to work on this in a unified manner. And Anand, of course, shared his sets of problems. Now, with those many problems, how has your solution, this integrated solution that you're proposing, is truly addressing it? And what are the criticisms that people have made towards an integrated solution being provided regarding the risk it could introduce and the very effectiveness of the solution that you're proposing?
No, I think great question. I would say Microsoft's actually uniquely positioned to solve some of these problems. And why I say that is really 3 big reasons. The first is we have this huge large-scale data advantage that our security brings to the table. There are actually 78 trillion native signals that we get on a daily basis to know what exactly the attackers are doing, which really empowers us and our customers to act proactively and respond to these threats. And signals matter, right? Because you cannot really protect what you cannot see. So we have that unique advantage coming from the fact that we have a monitoring of 300 plus threat groups right now. We also have million plus customers, 15,000 plus partners, and across this entire ecosystem, we get 78 trillion daily signals. The second thing that positions us uniquely is that we have a suite of offerings which are true end-to-end. So if you look at the 4 pillars that you really spoke about, from a threat protection and cloud security perspective, we have Sentinel and Defender. From a identity and management perspective, we have Entra and Intune. And from a data security, compliance, and privacy perspective, we have Purview and Priva. So across this entire suite, which provides end-to-end protection, we also have the multi-cloud capabilities and multi-platform capabilities. So think about any hyperscaler, think about any endpoint, whether it's an Apple device, an Android device, or a Microsoft device, right? We have the ability to give you that coverage, end-to-end. But I think it's the third lever that truly is separating Microsoft out today, which is our AI capabilities and generative AI. I earlier spoke about the fact that the scales are tipped in favor of the attackers. I think generative AI is decisively tilting them in favor of the defenders now. Why I say that is because we, with Security Copilot, are able to give you that ability to do natural language queries, and be able to really figure out what's happening in your environment. Pretty much anyone can do that, right? And it allows you to identify what incidents are happening, what is the impact on your organization, what should you prioritize, what are the recommended actions that you can take. And it's really decisively allowing you to fill for some of those skill set gaps I spoke about earlier. Because now even a junior security person in your organization can go ahead and take actions because they don't really require a lot of skilling as they would in the past. They can actually use natural language. They can, review lots of security logs, much, much easily than they could in the past. So Security Copilot is that central, machine, I would say, which is revving up the engines all around it and bringing that unique value that Microsoft is able to bring to the table to tilt these scales in favor of the defenders. And I would say we are uniquely placed there because there isn't any other, model out there which is even capable of coming close to that capability that we're bringing to the table.
So Anand, Nitin definitely made some points on how they are trying to address these solutions effectively. When you're looking at from your lens, who's there taking Microsoft solutions and building upon that to create value, what are the effectiveness and risk related questions you're tackling? And what would you say has allowed you to effectively address these solutions on the ground, which you could be proud of?
No, absolutely. I 100% agree with the points Nitin made. In terms of the integrated solutions making an effect for a customer, what we have seen is the platform as a solution when the customer is looking for a consolidation or an adoption of different security solutions under the 12 or 13 different domains. What happens is if you have a completeness of your vision of how you would look at the infrastructure to application to network to data and the cloud security all in one lens, and then add a security AI aspect to it, then your vision is completed in terms of tracking, monitoring your posture, the remediation story and all of that as a overall security solution, completeness of the vision. Now, in terms of the Microsoft solution, what we have seen is the reverse of the world, which is now creating or editors of the world also at the same time under the one single suite is creating one single identity platform for a customer. At the same time, the Purview solution is creating an overall regulatory and compliance aspect, which is again one more big problem for a customer to solve. And then your Sentinel is solving the attack surface management, advanced threat management, SIEM and SOC kind of solutions all bringing together. So what we are taking from the global system integrator is the adoption story becomes easier with these integrated solutions coming together. The movement from one solution to another in terms of the upgrades or migrations or also the information sharing across the platform becomes much more easier. There is no scope for any information to be missed because these solutions talk to each other very well. They complement each other. And that's what very, very important for a customer today, that any telemetry, any triage information should not be missed across their environment, which is not actioned on. And hence, I think there's only gains in terms of using these integrated solutions. There is gains in terms of the mean time to resolution or mean time to adoption of these solutions. When you're looking at as a landscape of products which complements are another part of a single platform.
So as a follow-up question to that, I'm sure when you approach different prospects and even your current customers, who you're proposing this integrated solutions, and they've already invested in some best-of-breed solutions, how do you justify removing those and applying your, panacea, if you will, because it's going to solve most of the problems those best-of-breed solutions may not?
Yeah, absolutely. So Tech Mahindra is a global system integrator. We first start with a consultative approach. we look at not just a point solution or a product solution wise approach towards solving a problem, right? So first thing first, if the customer has invested on a platform or specific tool to solve specific areas of concern or specific towers of security, we kind of evaluate and understand, is it really going to help the customer in the long run in terms of their roadmap towards gaining higher and better posture in terms of their security maturity or their roadmap towards being digitally resilient, right? So that is step one. Now, from a Microsoft solutions standpoint, what we have seen is typically you'll find most of the customers would have Microsoft landscape, right? They would have an E3 licensing. So when a customer moves from an E3 to E5, what additional gains that they get in terms of their expenditure to the ROI of security is immense, right? Because an E5 would give them access to a lot many security solutions under one single licensing aspect. At the same time, the products work together like the names which Nitin talked about. So this adoption of E3 to E5 becomes much easier for a customer to understand the value out of. The ROI discussions become much easier and the adoption discussion becomes much easier. And the customer is able to realize the value much faster when they move from these kind of licensing aspects, right? And at the same time, all these tools kind of create a holistic view of the customer's landscape and give one common visibility, which was one more important problem which I talked about earlier. And in terms of the other third-party solutions, if they make a real value in the customer's environment, are they cloud-enabled solutions? Are they on an Azure marketplace already? From if the customers can continue using that under those. And if there is an integration aspect, we as a global system integrator would ensure that those additional spends that the customer has already done are well integrated with the Microsoft landscape so that they can get the best of both worlds in terms of using the advanced features coming from the cloudified or SaaSified native Azure security solutions. At the same time, the integration with their on-premise or maybe other third-party security solutions complementing and working cohesively with the Microsoft landscape and Microsoft product stack.
So Nitin, what would be your answer if someone says, why should I propose, why do I adopt your proposed solution when I've already invested a ton in different best-of-breed solutions?
Well, I would say Microsoft Security helps you protect more with less, right? I mean, we've seen a 60% saving on average by consolidating a patchwork of vendors, and instead of that using, a Microsoft comprehensive integrated solution. And why that happens is because three reasons. First, you're more efficient. So you're unifying your tools, you're consolidating your licenses and casting aside any redundant contracts and consultants. Second is you're more effective, right? With AI and automation, as I spoke about earlier, it'll help you detect and respond much faster. And you also deal with one of the realities, which is a lot of insider risk, right? We're seeing at least 20% of the risk today coming from data breaches, both intended and unintended by insiders. But it's really the unification which delivers the maximum value, right? So your increased SecOps efficiency comes from the unified SIEM and XDR experience, that improves the visibility throughout your identities and endpoints. That's really what differentiates the Microsoft offering, besides the three levers I spoke about it.
So Nitin, can you give an example of how you customize this solution for a specific industry and what were the unique challenges and outcomes?
Absolutely. I think banking is a great example, right? While we can talk about any industry, let me talk about banking to begin with here. Banks are really big targets for data breaches. They're actually the number one target for all sorts of data breaches. Data security incidents are far more widespread, than you would imagine. 83% of banks have been attacked at some point or the other and have faced some sort of data breach. And as I earlier said, 20% of these incidents, typically in banks around data breaches, are driven by insiders, mostly malicious insiders. So at Microsoft, we basically focused on these three big pieces and came up with offerings and solutions that I can talk about. So if you think about the first one, discovering and protecting sensitive banking data becomes really critical. we have the Purview information protection offering, right, which really helps you identify and protect the sensitive data of both customers, on the bank and across apps and devices, right? If you look at the second piece, which is how do you prevent customer and financial data loss? We have the Purview data loss prevention offering, which really helps you prevent unauthorized sharing, transfer, and use of sensitive data across your apps and devices. And then last, the manage internal risks to safeguard data and maintain trust, right? So that's where we have, our offerings, again, with Purview to intelligently investigate and avoid any sort of insider risks. So, there are big examples of this. There are case studies out there you can review. If you look at EY's, challenges that they faced because they were trying to walk a very thin needle by keeping data as safe as possible, but also facilitating, collaboration between internal and external users in 150 plus countries. They managed to do that with Purview information protection. Rabobank is a great example. They needed a data loss prevention offering that focused on, both the people as well as the devices. And, the data loss prevention from Purview came in handy there. So there are many such examples that we can refer to where by industry, we've come up with offerings which use a combination of the solutions, that Microsoft has to create that integrated security posture, which eventually becomes a flywheel. Because when you look at the way this whole thing works is you start with cloud adoption. As you start doing more cloud adoption inside a customer, you start getting greater visibility to their security challenges, which is the signals I spoke about. The signals then create deeper insights for us, right? So we are able to then figure out what is the combination of offerings and, consultants that comes together to provide better threat protection. And when you have better threat protection, you also get better detection capability because you know what the threat actors are doing, which strengthens your security posture. And when that happens, it builds greater safety, which gives you more confidence to adopt cloud. So this is a flywheel, which works beautifully with AI and security Copilot in the middle, really spurring this on at a much more faster speed than it has in the past. Anand?
Any examples you want to share of customization and the unique challenges and the outcomes?
Well, absolutely. There are many, actually. Let's start with the Microsoft Sentinel as a platform, right? Again, from a SIEM standpoint, it does bring in a cloud version of the SIEM, but there are other integration aspects with other third-party solutions in a customer's environment. How would those telemetry information come on the Microsoft Sentinel as a platform? So we have worked with, take an example of major automotive in the US. We have created these integration APIs with other third-party solutions where all that telemetry is always being ingested into Microsoft Sentinel. And at the same time, we have also created workflows which are very industry-specific workflows in terms of how they want their data to be, how they want their alerts to be generated, and also the kind of dashboarding that they need. So we have kind of created that under the umbrella of the platform called Sentindra, which we have launched. It is basically Sentinel and Tech Mahindra, so hence the name Sentindra. And this is a platform which helps you adopt Sentinel much faster, move from your on-premise SIEM to a cloud SIEM like Sentinel much more easily and much more seamlessly. And to, at the same time, leverage the value out of this kind of implementation. The next best example would be around, again, as a Purview compliance manager as a solution. Now, from a compliance management standpoint, we do a lot of work around GRC in terms of risk and risk management and compliance management for customers. So again, for a banking customer, we have looked at how different regulatory aspects in Europe and in the US, which apply to those banks, are being looked at, and how the framework of the compliance which they are trying to look at, the roadmap of adoption of those compliances are worked on with Purview Compliance Manager. So we have created our own point of view and framework with the base platform as Purview Compliance Manager. That would be another one. The third one would be around Microsoft information protection, where any other third-party DLP, the loss prevention solutions, how can you migrate from those platforms which are not happy with to a Microsoft DLP solution using a migrator tool, right? That is something which is co-built between Tech Mahindra and Microsoft, which helps a customer to move seamlessly, take care of all their data policies, not lose any data in the migration from one DLP tool to another. And we've been able to solve that problem for customers. So hence, in the industry, typically you would have heard that moving from one DLP tool to another creates a lot of issues, and the customers are not very happy to make that move easily. But with these kind of innovative migrator tools that we have built along with Microsoft, we are able to do those migrations much more easily.
So, Nitin, Microsoft individually or in tandem or in partnership with Tech Mahindra, how are you ensuring the viability and the adaptability of this proposed solution, given that there would be ongoing changes that would come about and the pace at which this whole cybersecurity realm is evolving?
Again, a great question, Sanjog. I think the number one thing that we are seeing, which is driving the biggest change right now, is AI and generative AI. We are in the era of AI. And there are really three big levers that we look at when we are thinking about securing the use of generative AI. The first, I would say, is understanding the use of AI, right? So basically, you're talking about things like Defender for Cloud Apps, which has now extended its discovery capabilities to over 400 Gen AI apps, right? So you can see all the AI apps in use, you can understand the associated risk, and you can approve or block the use of these apps. The second is protecting the data used or created by AI, right? And, a good example of that is what we're doing with M365 Copilot. So Purview protection capabilities are now built into the Copilot for M365. So the output of the Copilot inherits the same sensitivity labels as the files that were referenced when you drafted with Copilot. And the third would be the governance around this, right? Which is with Purview, we are providing compliance controls for many different business or regulatory requirements to be addressed, bottoms up within the application. So these are tools which are helping you drive the adoption of Gen AI, more securely, more comfortably, not worrying about if it's going to cause any sort of data loss, and any sort of data protection issues. But I would also say, there's the need for company cultures to evolve, and you actually have to put a full data strategy along with the data governance and the security pieces that I spoke about to really make it effective. And we've seen a lot of, headlines, press around some of the threat actors, both, individual and state sponsored in some cases, which is creating a fresh set of challenges for us as practitioners. So last November, Microsoft announced the Secure Future Initiative, which we've extended this month. And it really focuses on 6 big pillars, right? Which is protecting identities and secrets, protecting tenants and isolating production systems, protecting networks, protecting engineering systems, monitoring and detecting threats, and then accelerating the response and remediation. And essentially, the philosophy of all these 6 is to basically build our platforms and our offerings on 3 broad principles. They should be secure by design, by default, and really drive secure operations. And why we're doing this is because we're really trying to make sure that the developers don't have to do a ton of work in order to secure what they're doing. So for example, the weakest, link in the chain are passwords, because passwords are just a string, right? So what we've introduced now in GitHub is the GitHub event security with secret scanning. So it literally goes and scans your code and comes back, with information about what secrets you might inadvertently be leaking or what open threads you might be leaving out there for a threat actor to penetrate your fortress from. And we've seen 100% of organizations coming back and saying they've identified secrets which were getting leaked because of some inadvertent mistakes that developers had made inside the code. The second big change that we are announcing and moving towards is driving system-managed identities, which will create a little bit more work for our developer community, but it will ensure 100% of applications are protected. Our long-term goal, of course, is to move away from having any passwords. And that's a whole new challenge that we're working towards. But I would say when you look at the last piece, which is securing operations, right? You're really focusing on getting rid of anything that you don't really need from an overall engineering systems perspective. And we in our systems have got rid of 70,000 plus, demos and different kind of codes that were sitting there and providing easy access for a threat actor. If we did not have the same, value assigned to these non-production systems as we do for production when it comes to security. So I think security is front and center, the number one priority for everything that we're doing at Microsoft. We're building all our platforms and all our principles around guiding our developer community to do and build security grounds up into the design of their applications and really not leave any estate out there for a threat actor to come and penetrate from.
Alan? Absolutely. And just to build on top of what Nitin mentioned, we talked about two very important aspects of secure by design and secure by operations. And we being a global system integrator, we kind of live by that philosophy that we have to keep our customers one step ahead of the threat actors at all times, right? So the viability of the solution or the framework that we have given, the services that we're running for our customer in terms of their security operations also needs to be one step ahead and aligned to the latest and greatest of what's going on, right? In the security landscape, right? The kind of threat actors which are coming up and the kind of innovations that they're bringing. So while we are going to use generative AI, the threat actors are also going to use the same, right? So how do we kind of be always one step ahead of them is the game. Now, in terms of the agility that we kind of bring in, the kind of services that we bring in would help the customer have the viability of the solution being there for them for a longer time. We would be bringing more services, more accelerators on top of the platform that Microsoft brings in or other security vendors that they bring in. And these solution accelerators would help the customers reap the benefit and keep leveraging the features for a longer time according to the changing threat landscape. For example, with the Microsoft platform, we have created something around the risk scoring in terms of incident prioritization, which would help the customer always understand what to focus on, which would lower down their aspects of operational cost in terms of the efficiency of the analyst, the security analyst and all of that. So similar innovation we would be bringing in from an AI aspect of Copilot being added to security. The security Copilot would be one big adoption journey, which we are looking at from a customer landscape, where there would be multiple use cases which we would be building, which would keep being enhanced as the time allows and the threat landscape change, the external environment changes, and according to that, we would be changing our service frameworks and our services being rendered to take care of those need of the hour, right? So, yeah, I think GSIs like us would always try to be agile and flexible in terms of the adoption and changing the landscape as the need be.
Thank you so much, Anand and Nitin, for sharing your insights about the unified cybersecurity approach that you're proposing and why it is better than standalone solutions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sanjog. Thanks, Nitin.
And for our audience, I invite you to find related conversations on CIOTalkNetwork.com.